You know what day it is, y'all. It is Tuesday night, cards and cake. I got my big ass cake here, and this is a very special episode of Cards and Cake, like it always is. What's up, David? What's up, Alec? And it's special because I got my best friend on. You know him as Andy, or the Fantasy Football Card Quest, and we will be talking a lot about football cards, fantasy football, as well as utilizing different platforms like Starstock, Comc, eBay, because my friend over here has a lot of success early on with Starstock, a platform I've not really dived into too much. But welcome back. Now let's get to work. Let's bring on Andy right now. And there you are, sir. How are you doing today, man?
Hey, what's up, Brad? I'm doing good, brother. Thanks for having me on.
Of course. Well, the big question is, I got my cake here. Do you got cake?
It looks pretty big, man, but I don't know. I stopped by the store today, and
you outdid me on the cake. Okay,
yeah, but this is like a value pack of base Donruss, and you got the Panini Prism.
I got the PSA 10 Silver Parallel, and you got like 19 Donruss paper cards, or like you have like 15 NBA Hoops cards, and I have like a Prism Refractor. What's going on? Playmaker 88, Daniel, Mike C, what's going on? And look, we're not going to waste any time. Let's get into it. So Andy, Fantasy Football Card Quest, if you aren't familiar with him and his station, obviously we're talking about fantasy football and bringing that over to the card space. Give us a little recap as to who you are and what brought you into cards and your background with fantasy.
Sure. Little recap. My name is Andy from the Fantasy Football Card Quest. And longtime fantasy footballer as an adult since about 2010. And I really started getting heavy into fantasy football when I realized that by following certain analysts and stuff, I was able to pinpoint when guys would break out. Like I remember in 2014, nobody was on to Odell Beckham Jr., but there was certain fantasy analysts that I was listening to between Matthew Berry and the fantasy footballers. And I actually picked him up like well before anybody else did in fantasy, and he helped me win my season that year. So long story short, I get heavier and heavier into fantasy football every year, and bring it full circle to 2020. Brad and I are talking earlier in the year, and he's getting back into sports cards. And I realized that they're making cards with jersey patches and doing all this cool stuff. So I'm like, this is a perfect fit for me to apply my football knowledge in determining which football cards should I be investing in. And so I'm just sharing my journey as I learn about the sports card market, the modern sports card market, and bring along my football experience.
That's it, man. And it's so cool because a lot of you guys that are on here now know our background because I got into sports cards again around February. I pretty much dragged this guy in. I pretty much said, dude, remember when we used to collect sports cards as a kid? Well, they're back. They're booming, and I just got these awesome Chris Godwin cards and Mike Evans cards for $4 and $5, and that brought them in. You got your beer. I got my Select High Life right here. So we're both
still nursing that 12-pack of Select High Life.
That's it, man. So obviously, you're excited about fantasy football. That's been your background for the last 10 years. And we're not going to spend all the time on that just because we want to focus on what we're seeing in the different markets and what returns you have and what players and teams that you like. But so let's just start with the biggest question, because the one thing that's on a lot of people's minds is fantasy football is different than football cards. Where is it the same and where is it different? Because I don't want to use data from fantasy football that's going to throw me off of investing. But I want to use it to help my investing. But where do we draw that line?
Yeah, no, that's a great question, Brad, because you bring up a great point. And right now it's very kind of convoluted because you can literally go to the fantasy football cheat sheet and go straight down from number one, and you've seen huge increases in Christian McCaffrey, Saquon Barkley. A lot of the running backs are in the very beginning of fantasy drafts. They're also the highest fantasy producers. They're also the rarest, animal in the fantasy football world. So you need those guys. So those guys are being drafted first. But in the sports card world, quarterbacks are definitely have the highest value. Look at Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson. But, like I said, we're seeing increases in the running backs, wide receivers. So really what we're using from fantasy football is determining players' opportunity. And that's where fantasy football analysts do a really good job. And if you know which ones to follow, a lot of them do an even better job than NFL scouts. And so they're going all the way back to college and looking at a player's athletic profile, looking at their breakout age, which is determined by at what age did they start producing more than 20% of their offensive production in college. We look at their speed, their power, their agility, reaction, quickness. So basically, we're trying to pinpoint an opportunity. The player gets an opportunity on the NFL field. Did they have the athletic profile to execute and make the big play and break out and really do some amazing stuff on the NFL field? That's going to translate over to their rookie card prices.
Okay, so from a collector standpoint of cards, performance matters because we want players that are good, but there's a lot of other factors involved. Like there's players that are not as good, but might be flashy or might just be more likable that can be more collectible. While you have some players, like I always go back to Tim Duncan in the NBA. Great NBA player, but what I would do is look at a Tim Duncan card if I'm having trouble falling asleep because I want to be able to sleep good. I'm like, oh, there's Tim Duncan. Just, great player, but zero flash. And I feel like that's something that's not a numeric value. That's not something you can look at in fantasy. It's not something that you care about. It's all about on field. And it's all I mean, you're also valuing what? Is it touchdowns higher than anything else and then yards higher? So, I mean,
yeah,
like, for example, if a wide receiver catches a game-winning ball, like let's say they have one catch in the whole game, but it's a 10-yard catch, but it was the most spectacular catch of the year, and it wins the game. That's still 7 points, right? Or that doesn't. They don't get style points for things like that, correct?
Right. Yeah, that's still 7 points. I guess that's a big point that you bring up. I mean, fantasy football is driven by on-field production, but it's not the end all be all. It doesn't account for things like that, like the guy who makes the special teams play at the end of the game. The Tennessee Music City Miracle. Those guys involved in that, they do have some hype, but at the same time, fantasy football, the guys that are Hall of Famers and the guys that are winning the MVP every year, those are also the top fantasy performers for the year. So we look at any of the Hall of Fame NFL players, those are all going to be top fantasy performers in their prime years. But it all accounts for just on-field performance. It doesn't take into account everything else like social media and
yeah. And what's one interesting thing is like on my last video recapping July, one of the trends I saw was the increase in attention going to running backs and wide receivers. And now if I look in the comment, I see Fudgicle, I see Brian Kingsley, Jerry. I don't know if it's Gary or Jerry. So Jerry or Gary, tell me if it's Jerry or Gary. Jacob, I see Shelly. I see all you guys, Playmaker 88X, Daniel, mentioning all these non-quarterback positions, which is so exciting because quarterbacks, yeah, they're the lead singer of the band, but when their prices are ridiculous, yeah, I'd rather have Julio Jones and Chris Godwin and some of these players than an unproven quarterback, right? Wouldn't I have a star receiver than a quarterback that could just totally suck? So what are you seeing in terms of the trends going on outside of quarterbacks? Because I remember when I got back into cards in February, I mean, this is like talking about years ago, but it's literally 6 months ago. There were two names. It was Patrick Mahomes and Lamar Jackson. That's pretty much it. Everyone else was like, what the hell? What are you talking about? Cam Newton and Jared Stidham and even Tom Brady's like, that's old school. And now we're talking about second and third wide receivers on a team. So tell us a bit about what you're seeing there.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. I mean, I think there's a lot of football fans that have gotten into card collecting or card collectors and investors that are now looking to diversify into football because basketball cards have gotten so expensive. And there's also, a lot of really cool football cards, just like there is for baseball, soccer. And with quarterbacks garnering most of the attention, and they've gone up in value the most right out of the gates here, I think we're seeing a lot of people that are now diversifying into the star wide receivers, the star running backs, and I've seen increases across the board in all of our big running backs. And I saw a comment there that championships are more important, and I agree with that. And that's the interesting thing. I think at the end of the day, at the end of the season, we're going to see a huge increase in a running back that goes to the Super Bowl and contributes to his team. You have guys like Christian McCaffrey, who, Vegas is only predicting Carolina to win 5.5 games this year because their defense is seriously lacking. But he's a big time producer on the field and in fantasy. And so he's been #1 running back in fantasy for the last couple of years. And we could very easily see that again. And we've seen, 300% increases in his rookie card prices over the last couple months. And we're seeing people diversify. And so, like, for example, I bought a Devontae Adams. He's an alpha wide receiver in Green Bay, right? He's got a lot of merit. He's been in the league since 2014. So it's not like he's a brand new player. We don't know what to expect from him. He's a big time producer every year. He's a top 10, top 5 wide receiver. And his rookie card prices, I bought a PSA 9 for $21 just a few weeks ago. I sold it today for $50.
Dude,
and
you know what's crazy about this is we were discussing this a while ago, is a lot of our investments were for this upcoming season, and we were pricing the cards way too low because I've sold out of so many football cards, and we're still a month away from kickoff, to the point where like double the price, triple the price is not even that good of a rule of thumb anymore, just because I'm saying, damn, I could double again or double again, because we're not even to the season, and the prices we paid for some of these cards were like $5 and $10, selling for $20 to $30. And I'm like, damn, at this pace, this can go up to $50, $60, $70 before kickoff. So I'm almost holding back. Guess who I sold 2 cards of today? I'll give you a hint, plays for the Bucks, but no one is talking about him, and for good reason.
No one's talking about him for good reason. Ronald Jones?
Yes, I sold 2 Ronald Jones rookie cards. I'm like, dude, I don't even know if you're going to be the starting running back, and you haven't really appeared the last couple of years. And I sold 2 Ronald Jones rookie cards today. Like, it was very low dollar amounts, but it was still 3x, 4x the price of what I paid. And I'm like, damn. Like, because now people are going so far from, okay, Tom Brady, yeah, too obvious. Well, who's next? Mike Evans, Chris Godwin. Okay, go there. Who's next? Oh, Gronkowski. Who's next? Well, I don't know. OJ Howard, Ronald Jones. How far out can we go? And then I saw someone mention defensive players, and there it is. Yeah, David Siebert talking about defensive all-time greats. And I really, there's one thing on my mind I want to bring up later, which I've noticed this last week, and I think it's really going to change the trajectory of this hobby, and it might be something we've never seen in the hobby before, even throughout all the other spikes that have happened over the last, 20, 30, 40 years. But what's your take on defensive players? For one, who are the defensive players you would focus on if it were to go into defensive players garnering some value and attention? What positions and what players specifically that if you said if it's going to defense, these are the guys that I would tackle first? Pun intended.
Well, yeah. I mean, if it's going to defense, I'm going to tackle the guys that are getting all the sacks, that are getting all the interceptions. So you've got these sack monsters out there, like the Bosa brothers, like Nick Bosa, Joey Bosa, Shaq Barrett on Tampa Bay. I mean, that guy was. I'm so excited to see our defense play again this year. I mean, and then you look at the linebacking cores across the NFL. There's a ton of incredible defensive players out there that are getting big time sacks. They're getting a lot of sacks per game. I'm looking at Khalil Mack, Shaq Barrett, J.J. Watt. I tried to buy a J.J. Watt rookie card from Beckett earlier today as part of my order, and it was like insufficient quantity. I didn't get it.
If it was an optic, I probably got it. I bought all these JJ Watt first year optic cards for like 60 cents each. But the one thing that I thought of with defensive players is, again, I'd want the teams that have the most stacked defenses, because it's kind of like if the opposing team is going against a stacked defense, it's not like you could be a great defensive player and be double teamed. If you're a great defensive lineman or defensive end and you're going to get double teamed because the others suck, well, you could be great, but you're only going to get 5 sacks next year. But if the whole defensive line is stacked and you're a great defensive player, well, if it's going to be one-on-one, you're going to win that battle more than you're going to lose it. And maybe you'll get 12 sacks or 14 or a couple of forced fumbles. And also, of course, if your secondary is great, your linebackers are great, the quarterback holds the ball longer and is getting nervous and makes a bad play or takes the sack, takes the forced fumble. But I feel like on defense, you're really getting into the caliber of the players around you, because pretty much if you have one great defensive player on any team, you could easily be neutralized, right? If that's it, it's like, throw to the other side of the field.
And that's what's happened to the Texans. That's what's happened to the Texans. I feel kind of bad for JJ Watt because he's so good, but the defense around him has just not been good. But you look at a team like San Francisco, they've got, and you look at the defensive end. So I think I kind of relate this to Madden. Who's the guy that we always will play in Madden to get the sack the quickest? Is the guy on the end. It's the guy on the end of the line. And we see that in real life too. And that's where JJ Watt lines up. That's where Nick Bosa lines up. That's where Khalil Mack lines up. That's where these big times, that's where Shaq Barrett lines up. That's where these guys that are getting all the sacks in the league line up. And then you look at a team like San Francisco, where their defense as a whole was a big reason why they made it to the defense was lights out. So you look at Richard Sherman, a lot of merit. And that goes back to the Legion of Boom in Seattle, the linebacking core, the corners, and the line.
Yeah, very interesting there.
And I'm seeing that some guys are already having success with Nick Bosa, and I'm not surprised, man. I've seen a high demand for his cards as well as some other defensive players.
I mean, I think part of it comes down to just who am I playing on Madden? Like, I'm thinking a lot of kids are probably playing Madden right now, and then they have their favorite linebacker or defensive end that even if they're not on a team that they care about, they created their own team or they like playing with that team, and that's who's in their eyes right now. But one thing that was really interesting, and Shelly, I think the sack leader last year was Shaquille Barrett, wasn't he? Or was he one of the top? Shaq Barrett.
Close.
But Shaq Barrett wasn't super great. He just had an amazing year last year. And then I think he was decent in Denver.
Yeah, it was Shaq Barrett.
Okay.
And then Chandler Jones, Cameron Jordan.
Interesting question by Brian. Who will be more valuable by the start of the season, a stud Hall of Fame Pro Bowl defensive player or second string offense? I have my answer, but I want to hear yours first.
Which will be more valuable by start of the season, stud Hall of Fame Pro Bowl defensive player or second string offense? Man, that's a good question. I think if the stud Hall of Fame Pro Bowl defensive player comes out and makes a Pro Bowl type play, whether it's a sack, interception, forced fumble, return for a touchdown, that kind of stuff, I think we could definitely see is like, oh, wow, then he's going to get the attention. He's going to get the media attention. He's going to get the hype in the media. That's going to translate over to the rookie card price. The same thing with you go ahead. I want to hear your
thoughts.
Well,
I was going to go with, I would say the defensive player if we were talking about next season, but I feel like we're too close for defensive players to take off by the beginning of the season. My take would be offense throughout the year. As the hobby grows, defense gets more attention, more value from investors and collectors. And then maybe by this time next year, we're having this type of conversation, talking about defensive ends, talking about linebackers. I see that as where it's going, but with only 4 weeks left, I don't see defense catching on just yet. I'd love for it to, but I don't see it just yet.
Yeah, I mean, because there's not a lot of fantasy leagues either that start defensive players. I mean, there are, but most of them are the skill positions. They're quarterback, running back, wide receiver, tight end, some kickers. So it's debatable.
not Roberto Aguayo. Holy shit! What a horrible draft pick that was. Y'all remember Roberto Aguayo? What's it? Roberto Aguayo? I mean,
Yeah.
it's like I think the second round pick the Bucks squandered on him, and they made some really good picks, but definitely not that one. Neon Dion rookie card, yeah. I think that's where we're talking about where fantasy doesn't include style points, because I go Deion Sanders, one of your favorite guys to have in your personal collection, one of my favorite personalities and guys. He wouldn't appear anywhere in fantasy, but Deion Sanders was awesome. I mean, he's a personality. He looked cool. He was cool. And that's all about the emotional side, all about the connection we feel when we look at the card, not about the stats, even though he did put up some good stats too.
Yeah.
Brian, dude, you can buy all my Roberto Aguayo, I don't even know his last name anymore, cards that come out. You can buy my punters as well. One thing I want to touch on is that you've had some experience with Starstock, and Starstock is the platform that was created by, I believe, the co-founder of FanDuel and the partner Scott, who put this together based on that quick investment flipping type of just gambling investing feel where you can maneuver around very fluidly. And we were just talking about how your experience with Starstock compared to that of Comc, something I know a lot about. So why don't you talk a bit about how that's been for you so far?
Sure. Well, the first thing I'll say is I'm really liking Starstock, and it's for a few reasons. And it does differ from Comc in the fact that they offer more transparency. But the things that I like about Starstock is, one, it's free to list your cards on there right now. They have this small company, family friendly feel where I was able to email someone in their operations with questions on what sets they would accept. He emailed me back within a half a day. And then I sent my cards in. It was free to send them in. He emailed me when he received them and said he got them, that they're working on uploading, would take 2 to 3 weeks. Well, within two and a half weeks, my cards were on the site, the majority of them. And I actually emailed him and said, because he emailed me and said, hey, the majority of your cards are on the site. So I went in, and their offer structure is really cool. So even if they'll show cards reserved in their vault, right, which are owned by someone that they're not listing for sale currently, but they have in their possession, you can go and make an offer. And what I noticed was there was offers already in the system, for example, on a Dak Prescott rated rookie, and I had sent in 8 of them. And I went in there and I was like, well, okay, I see an offer for 15. Let me just go ahead and try this, because I knew I paid about $4 or $5 for them. I clicked accept the offer or a list for 15, and it automatically accepted that offer. And I had a sale right out of the gate. So it's not like Comc where you list your card and then you have to wait for someone to make you an offer or to buy it. If there's offers already in their system, you can just accept them. But the one thing they're more transparent is that they show what's in the reserve inventory, whereas Comc doesn't show that.
So that actually works against me, because, to be honest, one of my favorite strategies on Comc is to buy 20 of a card and I only list one. And the point is that if that player or that card takes off, or even if it doesn't, I list one at, let's say, $15, and then I have 19 more in my inventory. But there might only be one for sale, and it's mine. So if someone wants it, they buy it. But if they're just one of these flippers that just wants to buy it and then mark it up and become the only supplier, well, then you got another thing coming, because then I put up my next card for sale at the price I want to sell for, which is usually less than what they want to sell theirs for. So I like that kind of game, because it's more of like a mental game to me, but it's nice as a buyer to know what the actual supply is. At the same time, if you're buying only to control supply and not because you actually want the card and believe in it, then to me, it's like, dude, why'd you buy the card? If you only bought the card to control the supply, you should have seen this risk that someone else could hold it. So I've been using that strategy for Comc. I personally love it, but I get that. One thing that is bothering me with Comc is how long it is to get my cards in the system. I have sent in cards. I'd have to check the due dates, but I think it was July 13th was the first batch. And then today was another batch. And I mean, I'm talking like 850 cards that are there but not in the system. And a lot of them are tied into the NFL as well as NBA playoffs. Some of them were like, I was telling you, if you guys saw the highlights of the NBA this morning or like a couple hours ago, the Orlando Magic beats the Milwaukee Bucks in the first game. And Nikola Vucevic is a guy that I bought a few Prism rookies of because they were literally $2 or $3. And I'm seeing on Comc, someone had paid like $34 for that card today. And I'm like, wow. The Magic aren't going to win that series. This guy's probably not going to have another big game. I wanted to be able to sell that today. And the fact that they're like 5 to 6 weeks minimum backlogged sucks. You know, it is what it is. It's just like all the others are backlogged to some degree. Now, the positive spin is that I probably would have sold 400 of these cards already at a low price. And now as everything's getting more and more inflated, I'll be able to sell at actual market value. But the delays are annoying because, you know, a lot of the cards I'm selling are just cards I already had bought on Comc, not the thousands I bought on Beckett and have sent in somewhere. So I like that you're having a good experience with Starstock. Anything else on Starstock you want to share?
I mean, it's just that they have, what I've seen is they have a bigger presence in social media. So like, for example, their operations manager that I was emailing with, he had actually watched my video on the Starstock submission. And so I feel that they're staying engaged with the modern sports card movement and what's going on in social media and what us content creators are talking about. And so they're very receptive to customer feedback. And I like that. I like getting an email from a real person that he's received my cards, getting an email. You know, it takes them a couple, not even a minute to type me a quick email, say, hey, you know, your cards are on the site, and that kind of stuff. Whereas I feel like Comc, where they've been around for what, 8-9 years, something like that. You know, they're a huge company. They've got the eBay integration. One other thing I do like about Starstock, I think Starstock could become a really neat, almost like a market movers type of tool, because what I've noticed on a lot of cards on there, they're not only showing a really cool graphic user interface on the movement of the sale prices on Starstock, but they're also pulling in some eBay sales, which I'm interested to see where they go with that and how they continue to pull in data. But it's a really cool tool that for right now is free. And the time that the amount that they charged me to send my cards, which was nothing, and then the time that they got them on the site, and then their offer structure I really like, and then to withdraw my money is only 5% versus Comc 10%. So there's a lot of positives that I like there. The only downside is they only accept rookie cards of active players and specific sets at that. So you have to, you know, take that into consideration. But it's pretty much, you know, when I emailed them going back to before 2012, they're looking for Topps and Bowman when it comes to football anyways. Topps, Bowman, Topps Chrome, Bowman Chrome. And then 2012, they'll take, you know, Panini Prism, Topps Chrome, Bowman Chrome. And then you get to 2016, they're really looking for the Prism. They're looking for the Optic and the Donruss. And there's a couple of like National Treasures, Origins, and I believe one other, Prism draft picks. They will accept Prism draft picks, which I felt was interesting because that breathes new life into the professionals in their college uniform.
Yeah, I think at this point, and even what the question David had about PSA 9s and 10s is just that what was seen as this is the rookie card, this is seen as the standard. With so much money entering and those cards going up so high, everything is spreading outward. Like you have that pin, that center point of this is the premier position to invest in and collect. It's quarterback. Okay, but that's getting really expensive and there's interest elsewhere. Where else do we go? This is the one set that you must have of this player. Okay, but that's getting really expensive. And so if I really want to invest in that player and I like him, where else can I go? And then it's like literally just, I always think of it as real estate, where it starts with a Tribeca condo in Manhattan. Here it is, $50 million condo. That is the pinnacle. That is the LeBron James rookie card. That is the Tom Brady PSA 10 refractor rookie card, whatever. And then it always goes outward in terms of cards, sets, players, and grading. So PSA 10, like I don't even consider PSA 10s now just because of how expensive they are. And even if they go up, I just think, all right, I feel like my money can go a lot further flipping multiple times than with that one card or those cards just holding for an extended period, especially if it's a newer card where I feel like PSA has 500 of those going to be sent back to people. But like if it's a card that, you know, the print run is 149 and there's only 6 of these PSA 10s, you know that, okay, that's it. It's pretty much done because it would have all been sent in already. But I feel like there's so many cards that were not even considered to be graded before because they were $5 cards that are now worth 25 and 30 that people are just flooding PSA and BGS and SGC to get them graded. And that's also why PSA and all those others are backlogged. And the card, like finding those semi-rigid card holders are like finding cocaine. It's like, yo, you're a semi-rigid dealer. You got semi-rigids. You got semi-rigids. And it's like, you know,
even penny sleeves. Even penny. I was absolutely amazed. I ordered another like a box of penny sleeves. It was 3 packs. Penny sleeves, and I got them one day on Amazon Prime. I'm like, whoa, what's going on? Ultra Pro must have opened a new factory or something.
The penny sleeves on Amazon I've been able to get. It's like $10 or $11 for a 3-pack or something like that.
Yeah. Well, real quick, Brad, what I was going to say about graded cards. So this is something that is an incredible investment opportunity. A lot of the guys, because I talked about this in one of my videos a couple weeks ago. And some of the guys, David Hunter, Brian, Brad, Knights, I see a lot of you guys on here. I know they've capitalized on this like I have, is we've been able to buy PSA 9s and 10s of star wide receivers and running backs in the NFL for $25 to $30, Brad. And when it comes to, you know, $20 to get the card graded and then 6 to 9 months to you know, get it returned, we're able to get like the Devontae Adams PSA 9 I bought for $21. I'm not surprised that I've already sold it for 50, and I noticed that the guy relisted it for 100, and I'm thinking, okay, who's gonna pay 100? But I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised.
I think that's the whole point. There's the cake. Tao. Yeah. Here's the point is that like what we thought was a ridiculous return, and same as you guys, you probably think like 2x return on a card, 3x return. That's ridiculous without them ever playing. Like we haven't even seen the football play or any games played, or in basketball, we're only now seeing some games. But the 2x, 3x returns are almost kind of bad because now we're seeing 8x and 10x returns just because of so many people getting in and wanting to invest somewhere. So that's why like PSA 9s don't bother me at all, just because as long as people get into the hobby, it's always going to trickle down and it's going to trickle outward. One thing I wanted to do real quick is I wanted to give a shout out to my moderators who are Ziggy No, Jason's Breaks, Brandon Chung, and Brian Kingsley, as well as yourself. Thanks for popping the zits of the community and taking out the trash. Really appreciate it, guys.
Oh, guys.
Okay, and another thing,
not a lot of zits to pop around here.
Not a lot of zits. You guys, come out to California where it's only like 48% tax percentage. Yeah, but I wanted to ask you, because it's not something that's talked about on these stations, and we talk about it. But what's your worst investment? What is something that you have regretted besides the Karl Malone refractor that you bought from me?
You knew I was gonna do. Well, that's a good point. So, cheers. I still got my Moosehead, man. I've kind of taken a liking to this Moosehead lager, man. The wife likes it too, so I've been getting it. And I save it for the live stream. I a 4-pack will last me a couple of weeks.
Yeah, but dude, I have a pack of Select, and it's just like I have 8 of them left. I think I started a month ago.
You drink 1 per live stream, right? So. I'd say one of my worst investments, besides the Karl Malone refractor that I bought from Brad here on Comc, like not realizing it. But my investment strategy really changed because I was buying a lot on Comc in the beginning, and then I was buying a lot of cards from eBay and Beckett in an attempt to send them to Comc. But once I found out about Starstock and once I got more familiar, I watched the interview with Starstock with Scott on Jeff's channel, and then I watched the interview with Scott on your channel, Brad. And I was like, I really like Starstock. I like what they're doing here. I really see a bright future for them. And I want to give them a shot. Like, I want to give them the benefit of the doubt. And with their fees being as low as they are right now, I'm sure that's not going to last forever. So my investment strategy changed from, I was buying a lot of bulk, like 2012 prisms of all my favorite NFL players, of all the greats, first year selects, first year prisms, buying oddball cards here and there that were rarer, but they weren't the specific rookie cards that Starstock would accept. And once, and I would say probably about a month and a half ago, I changed my investment strategy to only buying cards that Starstock would accept.
Okay. So you're keen on using Starstock as your platform of choice.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So I'm keen on using Starstock as my investment platform of choice. We've got 4 weeks left, so you could send in cards this week to Starstock. I'm confident they would get them on their site by the first week of the NFL. And with everything just being hype and news media right now, everything continued to go up. Like Brad and I talked about, honestly, there's a lot of cards that I am just not even going to list because, like, I sold that Devontae Adams PSA 9 for $50, and the guy turned around and is now listing it for 100. I could see that being sold for 100 when the season starts, and Green Bay goes out and Devontae Adams gets 150 yards and 4 touchdowns.
Well, I think. Well, I feel like the point is just that what we think is a great return or a high price is all based on what it was a month ago and 6 months ago and a year ago, and now all those rules are just being broken. Because when someone can gobble up a PSA 9 of a wide receiver, and you were probably questioning, is this a good investment at $20? Like, it's $10 to grade, so it's not bad, but will people really buy it? And then a month before the season, okay, it's already bought for 50, and you're like, holy shit. That's crazy.
I was kind of questioning it, but at the same time, I was like, if you watch that video I made on my receiver, I was like, no. I mean, this is Devontae Adams on the Green Bay Packers, Super Bowl contention team, and at $21 with the cost that it takes to get a card graded and the time it takes, and what his base Prism rookie card would be worth. I mean, it was a no-brainer at that point.
And it's interesting because I just did my first PSA submission. Was it last week? 231 cards. But the cards I had to pick, there were mostly Kobe's and Shaq's. I had to use the time frame of who do I feel I can have back in 4 to 6 months and it still be before their peak. And I don't know if I'm right on it, but I'm hoping that by November, December, before Kobe's 1-year anniversary of his death, Hall of Fame enshrinement documentary, that I'll be okay with it. But with that long of a turnover time, that's a big deal. Plus all that money that you could be investing and flipping a lot sooner. One thing I wanted to mention, I've not mentioned my worst investments like this, but it would have to be those Reggie Miller cards I got. I got 3 graded Reggie Miller cards, rookie cards. I sold 2 of them for a 3x profit, but I bought 35 raw Reggie Miller cards on Comc, and I was waiting for The Last Dance to air, and I knew that Reggie Miller had a huge game, a game-winning three-pointer in the semifinals before the Bulls faced the Jazz in the finals, and I thought there was going to be a lot more focus and attention and respect towards Reggie Miller in that series because the Pacers also took the Bulls to 7 games. So I bought them for $8 a piece. I mean, like at the end of the day, I think I could liquidate at what I paid just because they're Reggie Miller, Hall of Famer, rookie card. Yeah, it's raw, but $8 in this market is kind of a joke. So I have them marked at like $16, and then the rest of them hidden on Comc. But what's that?
I was gonna say, I mean, that's really my worst investment too. Like you said, the Karl Malone. But yeah, I mean, I was on the Last Dance hype train, and I was, ahead of the curve, so to speak, with Brad. And so I was buying Karl Malone refractors. I went and bought a lot of Kukoc rookie cards. I bought a lot of Steve Nash rookie cards, Reggie Miller in the beginning on Comc, thinking I could flip them. Well, a lot of those they're still listed for sale on there.
If
I
you
don't
guys
know.
want any Steve Kerr second-year cards, you know
Yep.
this guy. Check out this guy right here. Here's the learning lesson, because I think this is the point. Is the learning lesson for me was if you're making an investment, if I'm making an investment and it's for an event, it's literally like a Hall of Famer, and they're not going to be relevant for any reason after a specific event. Next time I'm going to go graded. I'm going to go higher end and something very easy to move, because I'd rather have a PSA 10 Reggie Miller and make a $50 profit or a $100 profit, which might only be 25% or 40%, and be able to move it, than get a bunch of raw cards, because the demand might just not be there for a player like that. So I think that's where I know, all right, if it's a one and done, go for the highest quality and even overpay in order to make 20%, 30% if I'm going to go that route, because once it's over, it might be really tough moving those cards because no one will care about that player anymore. So that's at least what I took, or serial number cards or something rarer than that.
Yeah, and I look at that, like, from my childhood collection, I have a Mark McGwire rookie card, and I'm like, man, he's got the asterisk by his name. My dad probably paid like $100 for this card in 1992. It's in this huge, it's serious. It's in this huge black. It's in this huge black velvet case. Like, you would think that I have a LeBron rookie card or something.
That looks like what Rose from Titanic had her necklace in.
You would think I've got a Patrick Mahomes rookie card in this, but this is like the epitome of the early 90s right here, with the screws in it and everything.
That thing out.
And I'm like, there's a small little window I could have sold this on eBay during that Sammy Sosa home run derby documentary that they made. And I didn't do it because I looked at the prices, and there were so many raw on there for sale for like 30, 40 bucks. I'm like, the sentimental value of what this reminds me from the early 90s is more to me. So, and because of the crazy case and stuff, and my dad still asks me, he's like, you still got that Mark McGwire rookie card? Yeah, I got it, Dad, right here.
Yeah, I keep it in my pocket at all times, Dad. It's so portable. You mentioned one thing that is really important. It's a lesson I've learned. Okay, so we have players that spike, right? We had Damian Lillard go off. And I told you that was one good investment I told you about months ago. I said, get those Damian Lillard cards. Here's what I noticed, and this is my learning lesson, because when Lillard had the 61-point game and then he had a follow-up 53-point game, his cards went through the roof. However, what I'm going to do next time is I'm going to have all my cards listed. If they're in person, I have to have them listed on eBay, and maybe not live, but they've got to be ready to go. And the reason is because I noticed the cards peak for maybe 8 hours or 10 hours, that emotional burst of people going, holy shit, get on the train, get Lillard's, doesn't matter what price, it's going to go up. That is a very short window. So what I did wrong was I let it sit a day, and then I took pictures the next day, and then I worked on the post, and then the following day I put it up. By then, it's already on its way down. People have already forgotten about it. Like that, because it's so emotional. I feel like so many people look and then they just rush out and get that. I need to take advantage of that window of opportunity where the emotions are doing the buying, not the logic. And what I did wrong is just not have that ready. So I always got to be prepared. If any of my players are playing or there could be news, I've got to have that listed and ready to go ASAP, because I cannot be wandering around and then 2 days later, guess what? You have 500 people listing these cards. And it's like me and a sea of Damian Lillard rookie cards, to the point where we all drive down our own prices. But at first, in that first 6 to 8 hours, oh, there's only 10 listings. There's only 20 listings. Boom, they're all gone.
No, I agree with you, Brad. And I saw the same thing recently with Cam Newton when he signed with the Patriots. It literally lasted for a matter of like 2 days, and that was it. It was like 2 days, and then his card prices literally spiked. I mean, they went from trading his base tops trading at like $2.50. They went up to like $30, and that was his base tops raw rookie card. But then it quickly dropped back down. Within a couple of weeks later, it's like, oh, he's not officially the starter. Is he 100% healthy? And it was like all this continued talk. And then now they're at a normal value. I mean, you could go and buy one probably for like $15 where, yeah, I mean, there's that initial like compulsive, it's like an impulsive spike just through the roof, and then it will come back down to that normal level. So you got to be ready to capture before that, Yeah.
And I want you to address Jerry's question here, but it is really just the emotions take things out of control, right? Just like anything in life. So I want to take advantage of other people's emotions getting the best of them. If you want to pay $500 for a card that I paid $100 for and it was only worth $200 a day ago, go for it. That's on you. If you don't want to control your emotions, be my guest. I'm good with that. But our logic and our reasonability is what's going to keep us having a winning formula and doing this. But it's always about, let's not invest with our emotions, no matter if it's cards or real estate or anything else. Our emotions are not the best, are not our best friend in this situation. Our head and our calm demeanor is going to help us with that. What's your thoughts on Jerry's purchases? When I see $7 each, I'm like, as long as it's not a Ryan Leaf second-year card, $7 is great.
I think AJ Brown, yeah, he's a second year. He's in his sophomore year. He's an incredible wide receiver, definitely the alpha in Tennessee. Derrick Henry, Tannehill, DK Metcalf's incredible speed, power. I mean, the guy's a monster. And on Seattle with Russell Wilson, he could easily see himself in a playoff scenario, making big plays. The one thing about DK Metcalf I've talked about before is Seattle could see themselves in a positive game script a lot through the first 3 quarters of the season. They could be running the ball a lot. That's what Pete Carroll likes to do. You may not see a lot from DK Metcalf production-wise, but in the long term, when Seattle's definitely probably going to make the playoffs and beyond, DK Metcalf's a really good investment. You just may want to hold on to it. Marquise Brown.
The positive game script pretty much means they should be winning more than losing. So they'll be killing the clock if that's the case. So they're going to be running the ball rather than passing in order to make up ground and score points. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. And negative game script means they're going to be behind a lot. We look at the Falcons, a team that could be in a negative, or the Carolina Panthers as well, be in a negative game script scenario a lot this year. I love AJ Brown, DK Metcalf, athletic profiles. Marquise Brown, he's a field stretcher in Baltimore, incredible athlete. He's another second-year player, and there's not a whole lot of options in Baltimore for Lamar Jackson. I mean, you really got Marquise Brown, Mark Andrews, and Lamar Jackson in his legs, right? And Mark Ingram and Justice Hill, and now they got J.K. Dobbins and stuff. So I like Marquise Brown. I've definitely bought some of him, bought some Metcalfs. Haven't bought any AJ Browns, but I need to. I need to look at him. Josh Jacobs. I'm assuming you're saying Josh Jacobs. Yeah, he's in Vegas now, and they have a good O-line. They have a much better offense. They're going to have a much better offense this year, and Gruden's not going to hold anything back. And he definitely believes in a bell cow running back. So that's a good investment. Terry McLaurin. I love Terry McLaurin, man. Scary Terry. I actually bought every single one of Terry McLaurin's rookie cards, Optic and Prism rookie cards on Comc within the last 4 or 5 days, and I've even bought some autographed Terry McLaurin's because I saw someone mention earlier, but Darius Geis, he did some really stupid stuff off the field, and he's suspended. He's out. AP Hall of Famer, right? But he's definitely getting up there. And the Redskins are going to be in a negative game script, so they're going to be throwing the ball a lot. And Alex Smith, he is now, just showed up on the media as being cleared to play. His family was spraying champagne on him. They probably threw one of these giant cakes at his face so he could eat it to celebrate.
No, I think he still has more money. He could get one of these really expensive bougie cakes. Not like the Dollar Tree $4 cake.
Hey, man. Well, when everything's going up,
Hey, man, that's 60. Well, it's funny. It's like that cake, I think said $16 on it. My cake was $16. And right now it's in terms of how many base cards or rookie cards am I giving up by going with this cake? $8. So it was one. Your whole cake was the price of my one or both of my slices. Great. So I really need to sell a couple more rookie cards here to make up for that. One thing I wanted to mention is Alec is watching from Australia and asked if I had tried Vegemite. It's the most disgusting thing in the world. It smells like something that you put in, like, I don't know, construction material. It's absolutely disgusting. Thoughts about Todd Gurley? I think you mentioned him a couple times before. What are you feeling about Todd?
I really like Todd Gurley. I really like Todd Gurley this year. We're looking at a bell cow scenario with him in Atlanta, and there's a lot of vacated targets there. You have Atlanta in negative game script. He's a very good receiver. I think Todd Gurley is a good pick. You've got an improved O-line in Atlanta. You've got a high-powered offense. Matt Ryan's another underpriced quarterback. We talk about safe investments. In a quarterback scenario, Matt Ryan, you could still buy his Topps Chrome. I wouldn't say Topps Chrome, but his base Topps rookie card for under $20. I mean, look at Russell's passing yards year over year. He does throw, but it's not like a lot. When you compare it to look at the Dallas Cowboys last year, or look at the Arizona Cardinals, or look at the Eagles. When you look at the Seattle Seahawks, they have a more balanced pass to run ratio. It's more 50-50. These other teams get up into like the 60-40. Cardinals get up almost to 70-30. The Eagles get up in that range too. I peed next to Matt Ryan outside at his friend's wedding. That's awesome.
Nice. It's a solid story, man. There's one thing I wanted to mention real quick, and this was the one thing that was been on my mind for the last 24 hours.
What's that?
Which is the cool factor around cards. Now, this might sound a bit weird, but I told you that there's a new card shop here in LA, right?
Yeah, you did.
This was the coolest thing ever. I'm here at the Grove in LA, which is like this outdoor mall area, and I'm sitting there and I'm actually watching that Blazers game where Damian Lillard scored Yeah, I forgot the last one. No, he just scored like 31, but the Blazers won against the Grizzlies. And this guy comes up to me and goes, like, to signal to take out my headphones. And I thought he wanted to sit down. And he goes, "Hey, I really like your YouTube station." And I'm like, "What the fuck? Are you serious? Like, which one?" Because I had that old one that's still lingering around. He said the card investor one. And we chatted, and it was a really cool feeling. But he said, "There's a new card shop on Melrose. Have you checked it out yet?" And if you haven't been to LA, Melrose is a very hipster street. That's where there's a lot of these sneaker stores, and there's a lot of consignment shops selling cool clothes and kind of hipster clothes, like a Nirvana concert tee from 25, 30 years ago for, I don't know, $100. And I go into this card shop, and it's not like the other card shops I've been to. It's not like First in Sports in Tampa or the other ones here in LA, where it's like a 35 to 55-year-old owner that loves the hobby, that is very much, it doesn't have a cool feel, but it's a very homey feel, like a normal card shop should. I go in there, and it's all super modern, young kids work in there, and the owner or like the shop is owned by the store called Cool Kicks. So it's literally that crossover from kids that are flipping sneakers. They're trying to bring that into cards. And I was like, holy shit, if this explodes even more among the kids that care about being cool, and then go into the music scene and all that. And I like that podcast you just listened to, or the video with Jeff interviewing DJ Ski, who's a DJ who's all into cards in the music scene. I'm like, holy shit, this can be not only popular like it was when we were kids, this could be cool. And here in LA, everyone wants to be cool. It's all about status and symbols. And when this is cool, I think that's when numbers and everything can go through the roof, because people will pay more for what's cool. Like, no matter what, if it's a car, if it's a vacation, if it's jewelry, if it's a purse, I will pay more for status. And I'm starting to think that with this shop opening in a hip part of town, with it being a cool type of atmosphere versus a normal card shop, if this becomes cool, we could see insanity. Like that was the thought that was going through my mind is, holy shit, this would be insane because it's not just popular, but if it's cool here in LA, celebrities, athletes, DJs, whatever, rapper with a Michael Jordan PSA 10 around his neck, like made into a necklace. I can see it. Like crazier things have happened. So
yeah. No, I like that. And DJ Ski's comment about having it displayed in their house, like, you know, these guys that are on cribs and stuff, having it displayed as artwork in their house. Like, what pop star or what famous person not going to want that LeBron refractor rookie card on his mantle or on his wall in, you know, in his living room, kind of thing.
It sounds weird now because that's not what we were used to. But just like you have your card display, I got mine here. I like this. To me, this is cool. This is like, hey, I want to have a corner that says, but if you're on the status, you want to have a really expensive one of these with only LeBron rookie cards. And when that impresses your friends, now it's going to be a whole nother ball game. So it was just something that was entering my mind because I don't think the hobby has had sports cards being cool among adults. I think it's always been something kids would do or some adults might get into, but it's never been seen as socially cool. And so that was something that was like, you know, here in LA, I see, you know, everything around me is just status and celebrities and movie this and whatever, that if LA, New York, if bigger markets really say this is the new cool thing, then watch out. This could be ridiculous.
Yeah, we just need a few like big athletes, big famous people, more people talking about it in social media. And that's the thing, like I'm actively working on collaborating with some of these guys in the fantasy football space that are expert level fantasy analysts that I think that it's an incredible opportunity to start talking about football cards as a complementary investment vehicle to fantasy football, because fantasy football has a lot of money. That's a big industry. That's a big business. We look at, you know, all the way down to daily with DraftKings and FanDuel. There's millions of dollars being moved through those platforms every NFL season. And now they've branched out into basketball and baseball and golf and UFC and everything else, just like sports cards. You know, I think that I really enjoyed listening to the DJ Ski interview because it's like inspiring. It's like, man, I feel it coming. Like I feel it building up steam. I feel it growing. And I'm just happy that like I'm in now, you know?
Yeah. And I actually went in there and talked to the owner. He definitely struck me as a cool guy, not like one of these normal hobby owners that would talk to me for an hour, but hopefully I can do a collaboration where I can at least show you guys around. I think when the station's bigger, he might be open to it because he said that his other YouTube station for Cool Kicks had like 800,000 subs. So it's kind of like, well, I got like 1,800, but you guys fucking rock. So it's a strong 1,800. And yeah, Mark Wahlberg, if he's giving it a go on sports cards, I am in. Mark Wahlberg is the man. So that's incredible. But you know what? There's another thing that was really on my mind, and I just had to share it before we sign off, which is I want to thank you, Andy, for being such a positive person in my life and such a great friend, because I've not talked to you, I've not communicated with you, I've not been so involved in your life the degree that we have been over the last 5 to 6 months. If you guys don't know, we are best friends, but we were guys that like we would chat every couple of weeks, every couple of months before this. We would talk about the Bucs upcoming year. I would visit when I'm in town. But besides the cool factor, besides the money, besides all that stuff, it is amazing to bond with you and connect with you at such a level that I don't know if we've ever talked this much, even when we were younger. Like maybe the same amount, but definitely not more than when we were teenagers. And I feel like that's an overlooked element of this hobby, is the bonding that I'm hearing between friends, between fathers and daughters, mothers and sons, fathers and sons, whatever it is. And I feel like I just want to thank you for that, because to be honest, this has been a pretty tough time in my life. I've been away from my girlfriend for 6 months as she's overseas and we can't see each other because of the borders. And I've dived so heavily into this, but it's helped so much because you have been so open and so excited to be building your station and to be in cards. So I just wanted to thank you in front of 46 live viewers and whoever tunes in tomorrow.
Yeah, man. No, thank you, dude. Because honestly, I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't be back into cards if it weren't for you and sharing the cards that you bought. Chris Godwin, Mike Evans with the jersey patch and the autographs back when Tom Brady signed with the Bucks, and I was, just totally. And I haven't seen my dad as much lately, but it's brought him and I closer as well. It's brought you and I closer. It's brought my dad closer. My dad's like, the cards that he got in the 90s, like that Mark McGuire, I mean, he spent a lot of time. Him and I went to a lot of card shows. He brought a ton of cards, and they were all sitting in his closet, just rotting. And I pulled them all out and went through all of them. And it was because of this, And so there's a lot of conversation that started around that. And I've made a lot of new friends on YouTube, incredible guys like David Hunter.
Dude. Yeah, and you texted me, David Hunter. You're like, holy shit, this guy David Hunter sent me all these cards. David, if you're still watching, yeah, I see you right there. You have no idea how excited Andy was. Just like when I told you that Jason had sent me stuff, I was like, what are these people doing? They just sent me cards. But that gets overlooked because we want to make money, and that's really important because we're dealing with different stuff like that. But the amount of fun that comes with this and the amount of connection that when I see you guys, David and Brian, Fudgical, DMob 420, happy for you to join us, Mitchell, Stray Dog, like all you guys, I'm like, dude, you're my boys. This is like the fraternity. Except for Shelly, you're a girl, you're in the sorority, but like you're like the
female. There's a female.
Token girl, I love it. Thank you, right here. But you are an honorary member of our group, and we want more females to be involved because we don't want to get away from our partners because of this. We want to bring a newer energy to our relationships, whether it's sisters or girlfriends, wives, or whatever, because we're having fun in this hobby and hopefully making money and not like ruining the vacation fund because we're investing in Zion cards when they're at their peak before he gets injured and drops out.
Yeah.
If you guys have
I was just gonna say, Brad, that's another video I'm working on is like, in involving your spouse, involving your significant other, because I mean, I've got sideways eyes from my wife, like, you spent how much on what? But when you show them the results on what you're selling, then it, and you play by safe bankroll investment principles. Like personal finance dad talks about and Brad. So
yeah, man. And I think that was a big point that we want everyone to get what you want from the hobby because I don't want this to be a flash in the pan. This is a lot of work, a lot of great connections. But if we're just in it for 6 months and then we're out because we did not invest soundly or we over leveraged or whatever, that hurts me as much as it hurts you. Like I want all of us to really grow and just get what we want out of it. If it's just a break, if it's just to invest $50 a month, if it's even if it's not to get a return, but just to build a collection, dude, whatever it is, let's just do it the right way. So take us home, Andy. And anything else?
I do not officially know what David Hunter has sent me. It could be I don't know. It could be a madman. It could be a severed hand. It could be a lock of hair. I'm not sure, but
lock of hair. If it's David's lock of hair, you got to send him my way.
But what I will say is the video is almost done, and I put a lot of work into this. I put a lot of cinematic style editing, and I'm very excited to premiere it. It's going to go live tomorrow night. So if you guys want to join me and see what David Hunter has sent me, that would be a good time.
Dude, that's awesome. I did a video with Jason sending me stuff. I'll be honest, at first, I'm like, I don't know you guys on the other end. I don't know if it's going to be like dirty underwear or something like that. I mean, just, you don't know. You don't know. People, there's some weird people online, but you guys are cool. So I feel like the rapport is there. Anyway,
I'm surprised you haven't got a cake sent to you in the mail yet. Like someone just like, Send you a whole cake.
That looks like plastic, man. That icing on top, put that in the, show it in the thing. That looks like it's freaking plastic. I don't know if that's edible. Is that one of those fake cakes, like a prop?
You know what? I'd hate to just dig into it, but
All right.
this looks pretty good, Brad. This looks edible, bro.
So, okay, you have a bite. Someone else wanted me to have a bite here. Make sure to check out the Fantasy Football Card Quest if you're into cards, if you're into this type of stuff. And Shelly, thanks so much. You are awesome. And I want more daughters, more girlfriends to at least be open to sports cards, as it brings us so much joy. So with that, thanks for watching. I'm going to sign out. I'm going to eat a slice of this cake right here.
Yeah, my daughter loved opening cards with me as well.
Oh, fun. Damn, it's good, man. Oh, my God. All right, guys. Peace out. I'll see you later. Have a